Join the coven. Today's video is brought to you by Audible. Audible is offering my listeners a free audiobook with a 30-day trial membership. Just go to audibletrial.com/GothicRose and browse the unmatched selection of audio programs. Download a title for free and start listening. It's that easy. Just go to audibletrial.com/GothicRose to get started today. Before we begin the video, I would just like to give a huge thank you to ZakBabyTV for contributing to this video. If you don't know who he is, he's an amazing, talented fellow narrator, and you should really show him some love. The link to his channel will be available in the description down below. The hospital I work at has a man who claims to have visited hell. A story written by BloodySpaghetti. I work at a mental hospital, and some of the residents there are a little odd, to put it nicely. Sure, some people are afflicted with the so-called usual conditions, like paranoid schizophrenia or schizoaffective disorder. Others are less clear-cut, like the one guy we have that seems to fit into about 7 different personality disorders, and yet doesn't fit anyone just exactly. He definitely requires unconventional treatment. Nothing harmful, just to be extra careful around the guy. There is, however, one really weird type there. A delusional man who has been in the hospital for years now. I've been working at the hospital for a few years, and this man has been admitted for as long as I've been there. This guy, I'll call him Arthur McJohn, because why not? And I don't want his identity going out there. He has some sort of a unique delusion. It's sort of like Cotard delusion or walking corpse syndrome. It's similar in the way that he believes he died once in the past. However, it is different in that he thinks he's been resurrected, or actually that he escaped from hell itself. I've learned about this specific details only recently. I knew for the longest time that he has some self-harm tendencies as a result of his delusion. He believes to be having an extraordinary generative ability. In simple terms, he tries to convince everyone that he will come back from the dead once he manages to end himself. Recently, he started improving, so we let him roam free around his living section of the facility. He still doesn't get to possess or handle anything that might cause him any sort of bodily harm. Anyway, what I'm about to tell you is what he told me one night. He came up to me from the dark hall, slowly, almost as if he was trying to creep up on me when I was busy doing the paperwork on other patients. I didn't even notice him. I was buried in the papers with the light from my monitor as almost soothing me, immersing me completely into my monotone work process at the moment. "Hey, Jack." Arthur's creaking voice crept up on me from the front of the counter, startling me. "Oh, God!" I yelped as I jumped from my seat. "I didn't mean to startle you. I'm sorry," the man in the pajamas said. "Oh, wow. It's fine," I said as I clenched my chest. "Do you need anything?" "Well, I'd like to talk to someone. Could you, he asked in response. I guess. But let's head to your room first, okay?" I answered, trying to relax in the process. Sure, he said, and turned back towards the dark hallway. I followed suit. The whole walk to his room was quiet. Almost eerily quiet for a person who wanted to talk. He didn't have much to say, it seemed. Once we made it to his room, he slumped his long and lanky form on the bed and motioned for me to sit on the chair by the door. I did. So, what did you want to talk to me about? I asked him hesitantly. His facial expression became serious, something very unusual for him. He was never seen having a serious expression on his face. Do you know why I'm here? He asked me with a cold tone. You suffer from a condition called Cotard delusion, and your family admitted you here after repeated harming attempts. I responded, fact of the matterly. Yeah, my family admitted me here 30 freaking years ago. Do I look 60-something to you? He remarked sarcastically. You what? I questioned. I'm pretty sure my whole body language gave out the fact that I wasn't expecting this sort of response. Yeah. They never told you when they got me here, he remarked with a smirk forming on his face. That's He cut me off. Impossible? Sure, you can always read my files and see when I was admitted. Do you know why the older staff members call Old Joe Adkins Barbarossa? Because he used to have a red beard. He kept on going. Listen, what I've told them, what I've told everyone here is the truth. I've been to hell and back. There's no way. If you got me here to convince me of something supernatural, I'm gonna have to leave and lock your door again, Arthur, I said as I stood up from my chair and started picking my pockets for the master key to the patient's rooms. Admittedly, his remark about Dr. Adkins intrigued me. I had never known he had had a red beard or anything of the sort. The nickname fits as well. I had to keep my professionalism, however. I was about to leave when Arthur got up from his bed and pulled his shirt up. He pointed at his chest and back, spinning in place. See these? Exactly the same location. That's the bullet that ended my life. I stopped myself from leaving. So you've had an NDE, and the lack of oxygen damaged your frontal lobe, causing the fall. I was going to say, but he cut me off. I woke up in the morgue, in a body bag. I doubt people who were near death get placed in body bags, Jack, he said. Okay, well then, tell me, how was it like in hell? I decided to humor the situation, as I alert other staff members to arrive, just in case. Now you're asking the good questions, Jack, Arthur exclaimed, before slumping back down to his bed. He then continued speaking. You see, once you die, you go to this dark, pitch black, dark, wet, silent place. And there, you're alone inside nothing at all. Just you in the pitch black, silent darkness. There's a feeling of wetness, but it's so dull and muffled that you're not really any wetness. You're not feeling anything in that place. Doesn't sound too bad, I mused, trying to ease up the ever-growing tension in the room. It's lovely for a short time, but then your mind or soul or something, that thing inside of you begins trying to come up with things to keep you away from the nothing. And that's when something akin to hallucination starts happening. You hear voices and you see faces. That's not too bad, but then, my friend, you begin feeling as if you're being followed, chased, preyed upon. The paranoia creeps in on you slowly and everything becomes darker, more sinister. You begin seeing disturbing visages, and the voices become screams, shrieks of unimaginable suffering. A chill ran down my spine as he said that. Sometime later, the paranoia becomes unbearable and you begin screaming into the nothingness. But no voice comes out. You try to move around, but you can't feel your body. Your fear only gets worse. You are losing it. The nothingness just eats away at you. Slowly, patiently, almost deliberately. God knows how long later, you begin feeling pain. At first it's just small pricks and pokes on your skin. A nice change from the constant nothing. A feeling at last. Unpleasant one, but still. Sounds awful. I cut him off. Oh, we're not even at the best part yet, son. The pain eventually grows. It grows endlessly to the point where you feel as if you're constantly shot, stabbed, cut, beat, burned all at once. You try to run away from the sensations, but you can't. That is when you realize you are frozen in place. That is when I finally realized I'm stuck in place. No, that's when I accepted it. I felt myself beginning to experience fearful discomfort. His tall tale was getting to me. Arthur simply continued. Fear. It becomes the only constant. Eventually, you get used to it. You get used to always being exhausted and in pain, and it becomes fine. Trust me, it does. It sure as hell exhausts you. But then, at some point, you finally break. They finally manage to break your spirit. Arthur grasped at his pillow tightly and kept on saying, For me, it was when I saw that thing. I don't even know. It had a jaw, massive like a cave, and one red, bloodshot eye. On top, I can't. Hey, are you alright? I asked, as I started making my way towards him. I'm fine. I just struggle to remember. You see, when this thing came close enough, I think I began feeling like I was being torn apart. Skin from the body, flesh from the bones, organs being pulled out. I even felt like your bones are being crushed. All of this. This is just the darkness around you that's doing this to you. Oh, and the worst part is when you begin feeling yourself, your core, your soul, your whatever makes you, being torn apart to bits and pieces, memories, knowledge, feelings. All is slowly stripped away until there's nothing left. They take your memories, your feelings, the pain, everything. Arthur said as his voice quivered and tears began streaming down his eyes. Well, now you're safe, and you'll be all right. Okay, Arthur? I said as my colleagues began showing up at the entrance of his room. I don't know. Man, I barely escaped by the skin of my teeth, clutched at this little memory of when I set my brother accidentally on fire. I held to this memory so tightly and I didn't even want to. He burst into tears immediately as the other staff members began tending to him. It'll be all right, I promise, I told him as I stood at the edge of the room watching as they tried talking him down. I don't want to go back. 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 They'll kill me. They'll kill me. I don't want to go back. He screamed repeatedly as he began thrashing and clawing at the staff members who tried to calm him down. You won't go anywhere, Arthur, I told him before leaving the room to notify the administration. Apparently, they had to strap him down, and he didn't sleep ever since. Nothing puts him down. He's been awake and raving for the last week and doesn't seem to slow down. His vitals are going down. No matter what we do, his health is declining and he won't fall asleep. I'm afraid exhaustion will claim his life. I do wonder why he keeps screaming about someone's cold hands touching him.
Okay, Mr. Johnson, let's take it from the top, Officer Winslow said as he looked at the papers in front of him on the interrogation desk. How many times do I have to tell this story? I've already told the detective. Well, you're going to tell it to me because I asked you to, young man. Now, start from the beginning. It just happened to me about a few hours back. I'm 17 years old, and my name's Brandon. I was an employee of Chuck E. Cheese. I was working the closing shift when this happened tonight. I was dating another coworker. We've been going out for a few months now. Her name was Lisa, and she was my everything. It was Friday night. And yes, we were doing some things we weren't supposed to be doing. It was around 10:30 p.m., and most people had already left. There was probably one or two coworkers still left inside cleaning up and wrapping everything, getting ready to leave. Me and Lisa were in the stockroom down below in the basement. We were having some hot sex. I'm not gonna lie. I know we could get fired for this, but that's where we were. We were just having a quickie, is all. After about 30 minutes or so, we were just going back up the steps, and we noticed that everything was turned off. It didn't feel like we were down there that long. Everything was pitch black except for the lights from on the stage area near the video games where Chucky and the screen are located at. I looked at my watch, and I noticed that the time had stopped. It still said it was 10:34. That was the first red flag that I noticed that I obviously didn't really pay attention to at the time. I flipped the switches in the hallway, but nothing worked. Everything was completely dead except for the main floor where the television screen is and the large electronic Chucky doll is. I don't know how to explain it, but I almost felt like I was drawn to that side of the store. As we both slowly approached the screen, it flickered on. Loud static surrounded our eardrums and in front of our faces from the cloud on the screen. And then all of a sudden, the large robotic Chucky doll's eyes turned bright red, and it spoke to us.
Sacrifice!
What the hell, did you hear that? She just nodded her head and she kept staring at the Chucky.
Sacrifice!
Oh, shit. Is this some type of a joke? Is somebody pranking us right now? I was actually speaking to the frickin' robot. It didn't respond. Still, all we could hear was the static. Then there was some type of humming noise coming from the robot as well. That's the only way I could really describe it. What? I asked myself.
Sacrifice the bitch!
Oh shit! We both kind of jumped back in realization of what that thing was just saying to us. Listen here, buddy. If somebody's remotely controlling this, the joke's over. That is not cool. You don't call people names like that. Yeah, that's some bullshit, she said. But still, there was no answer. We were waiting for somebody to jump from behind the TV screen or say peekaboo or something. We thought we were being pranked. I was looking for Ashton Kutcher. But still, nobody came forth. It was just her, me, and the static and Chucky. Both freaked out. I ran over towards the kitchen and grabbed the nearest knife I could find. Well, I'm not going out without a fight, I said to Lisa. We checked the front door, and it was chained from the outside. We ran around towards the back door, and the same thing. It was locked. There was no way to get through the few windows we even had at the store because none of them had locks or openings on them. They were just there visually for the outside scenery. We were completely stuck. There's just gotta be another way out, I told Lisa. I'm gonna finish up looking around up here. Go back downstairs and see if you could find any other windows or something in the basement or any type of trapdoor or something, and I'll meet you down there. Fast forward for about 15 minutes, which felt like an hour. I kept hearing crazy noises, and I swear I was seeing things on the corner of my eyes. But then again, it was almost utterly, completely pitch black, aside from the static. I finished my rounds upstairs, knife in hand, paranoid beyond belief. I started making my way down the wooden steps into the basement to meet up with Lisa. And that's when I heard her scream. At this point, I was skipping steps, hopping down towards the bottom floor. I started screaming out her name to see what direction she was coming from. But I didn't hear anything. The scream stopped. Then suddenly, this pitch black 7 feet something apparition lunged at me with full force at the blink of an eye. I couldn't do anything but lean back and shove the knife forward in protection against it. And all I heard was the scream again. I let go, turned around, and ran up the stairs as fast as I possibly could back onto the main level. It was fight or flight, and I chose flight. Looking back now, I could see that the Chucky robot's head is actually following me as I'm running towards the front door. And then I heard it speak again. This time, it was speaking through my head.
I knew you could do it.
As I'm running, I'm looking down at my hands, and they're full of blood. Blood is splattered all over my hand and wrists and arms, even on my waist and shoes. I'm shaking my head and screaming no as I'm running towards the entrance. And that's when I see the 2 front glass doors wide open, with policemen with their guns raised, aiming straight at me. Blue and red lights lighting up the front parking lot as they gather and surround me, telling me to get on my knees and put my hands behind my head. So, Mr. Johnson, you're basically telling me that Chucky possessed you. Am I getting this clear? I don't know how else to explain it. That's what happened. That's what happened. No, Mr. Johnson. What happened is you stabbed your girlfriend in the basement and left her to bleed to death. That's what happened. I looked up at the police officer as he was accusing me of something I didn't do. And that's when I saw those bright red familiar eyes that I saw earlier tonight. And that's when he spoke to me again.
And now, you're going to fry.